The text message lit up my phone at 3:17 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, wondering why Daniel hadn't come home yet. Another working late excuse, another night alone in our bed. I shouldn't have looked. Some primitive part of my brain must have known what I'd find. My trembling fingers pressed the notification anyway. It wasn't meant for me. That much was obvious immediately. I miss your skin against mine already. Can't wait until tomorrow when you tell her. My chest tightened as if someone had reached inside and squeezed my heart with icy fingers. The sender was Kate from HR, a woman I'd met at 3 company Christmas parties, a woman who had hugged me, laughed with me, asked about our plans to start a family someday. I sat up in bed, our wedding photo on the nightstand, suddenly looking like something from a stranger's life. 5 years of marriage, 3 miscarriages, countless nights holding each other through disappointment and grief. And now this. I scrolled back through their messages. 2 months of texts, photos, plans, promises, all while I was taking my temperature every morning, tracking ovulation cycles, and crying myself to sleep when my period arrived like clockwork. But here's the thing they didn't know. Couldn't know. Something I'd been hiding for 6 weeks now. A secret that made this betrayal all the more devastating. I placed my hand on my still flat stomach. This baby wasn't Daniel's. Let me be clear. I'm not the villain in this story. I never meant for it to happen. One night, just one terrible, wonderful night 6 weeks ago when everything changed. Daniel had gone to a business conference in Chicago. I was alone, drowning in another failed pregnancy test, when James showed up at our door. Daniel's brother, my brother-in-law, the quieter one, the kinder one. Daniel asked me to drop off some files he forgot. He'd explained, rainwater dripping from his dark hair, so similar to Daniel's, yet somehow softer. I remember inviting him in. The bottle of wine I'd opened before the pregnancy test came back negative. The way he listened, really listened, as I poured out my heart about the fertility treatments, the disappointments, the way Daniel had grown increasingly distant. He doesn't even look at me anymore, I whispered, wine glass empty for the second time. Like I've failed him somehow. James moved closer on the couch, his hand covering mine. He's a fool, he said, voice low. If you were mine. He stopped himself, but I saw it in his eyes. Years of unspoken feelings. Years of standing in his brother's shadow. I shouldn't have kissed him. I shouldn't have led him to our bedroom. I shouldn't have clung to him afterward, both of us shaking with regret and release. This can never happen again, I'd whispered against his shoulder. Never, he agreed, but his arms tightened around me. We kept our promise. One night, one mistake, one secret, until the pregnancy test came back positive 2 weeks later. I knew immediately it was James's baby. Daniel and I hadn't been intimate in months. I'd planned to tell Daniel anyway, to pass it off as a miracle, as our baby, because I wanted this child so desperately. I'd convinced myself it was the right thing to do. Now, staring at those text messages at 3:17 a.m., everything changed. I heard Daniel's key in the lock downstairs. His footsteps, heavier than usual, on the stairs. I quickly locked my phone and pretended to be asleep. He slipped into bed beside me, smelling of unfamiliar perfume and guilt. I felt him hesitate, then gently place his hand on my hip, a touch so careful, so calculated, it made my stomach turn. "You awake?" he whispered. I kept my breathing steady, my eyes closed. Let him think I was sleeping. Let him think I was oblivious. I needed time to think. The next morning, I watched him prepare for work with new eyes. Each movement now seemed foreign. The way he straightened his tie in the mirror, the careful way he styled his hair, the extra cologne. He was dressing for her. "Big presentation today," he said cheerfully, kissing my forehead. "Might be another late night." I smiled, the expression feeling like a crack in porcelain. "Good luck," I said. As soon as he left, I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Morning sickness mingled with disgust at my own deception, at his betrayal, at the impossible situation we'd created. I called in sick to my job at the architectural firm. I couldn't focus on blueprints and client meetings. Not today. Instead, I sat at our kitchen table, both hands on my stomach, feeling utterly alone. My phone buzzed with a text from James. "Hey, just checking in. You seemed quiet at Sunday dinner. Everything okay?" Sunday dinner, 3 days ago. Daniel's hand on my knee under the table while he smiled at Kate across the room. James watching me with worried eyes. His parents, soon to be grandparents without knowing it, passing the potatoes. I didn't answer James's text. I couldn't. Instead, I opened my laptop and began searching. First, Daniel's email, password, our anniversary date, how ironic. Then his cloud storage, his calendar, piecing together the extent of his betrayal like a detective assembling evidence. Dinner reservations at places we could never afford, hotel bookings, a saved email thread where they discuss their future together. "She's been so distant since the last miscarriage," he'd written about me. "It's like living with a ghost. You make me feel alive again." I read those words 3 times, each time feeling them cut deeper. Is that how he saw me? A ghost? A failure? A burden? I closed the laptop, suddenly calm in a way that terrified me. The pain crystallized into something harder, colder, more determined. They thought they knew everything. They thought they held all the cards, but they had no idea what I was hiding. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my mother-in-law, Eleanor, standing there with a casserole dish and concern etched into her face. "Daniel called me," she explained, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Said you were sick. I brought chicken soup." Eleanor had never been a warm woman. Proper, elegant, but withholding, especially with me. She'd made it clear from the beginning that she'd imagined someone different for her golden boy. Someone from their social circle. Someone who could give them grandchildren. I watched her move through my kitchen, opening cabinets she knew by heart, retrieving bowls like she owned the place. In a way, she did. The down payment for this house had been their wedding gift to us. "You don't look sick," she observed, ladling soup into bowls. "Just tired." "I'm fine," I insisted. "Just needed a day off." She studied me with those penetrating eyes. The same blue as James's, not Daniel's. Daniel had his father's eyes. "Are you pregnant again?" she asked bluntly. My hand instinctively went to my stomach before I could stop myself. Her eyes followed the movement, widening slightly. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You are." "I haven't told Daniel yet," I said quickly. "It's early, after what happened last time." "Oh, darling." For once, genuine emotion broke through her reserved exterior. She pulled me into an awkward hug, patting my back. "This is wonderful news. Daniel will be ecstatic." Would he? Would news of this pregnancy stop him from leaving me for Kate? Or would it just complicate his exit strategy? "Don't tell him," I begged. "Please. I want to be sure everything's okay first." She nodded, but I could see the wheels turning behind her eyes. Another grandchild. The heir she'd been waiting for. Daniel's son or daughter. Except it wasn't Daniel's. It was James's. Her other son, the one she hardly mentioned, the one whose achievements were footnotes to Daniel's successes. We ate soup in silence. My mind raced with the impossibility of my situation. I had to tell someone. I had to figure out what to do. "Have you noticed anything different about Daniel lately?" I ventured. Eleanor put down her spoon. "Different how?" "Just distant, maybe. Working late a lot." She sighed. "Men get that way sometimes. Robert was the same before James was born. The pressure of impending fatherhood." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Don't worry. Everything will be fine once the baby comes." The irony was suffocating. After she left, I sat on the bathroom floor, clutching the pregnancy test I'd taken 6 weeks earlier. The 2 pink lines that had once filled me with cautious joy now seemed like a cruel joke. My phone buzzed. James again. "Seriously, are you okay? I can come over if you need to talk." I almost called him. Almost. But what would I say? "Your brother's cheating on me and I'm pregnant with your child?" The words wouldn't even form in my mind properly, let alone come out of my mouth. Instead, I texted back. "I'm fine. Just a stomach bug." That night, Daniel came home at 10 p.m., earlier than I expected. His face was drawn, troubled. He brought me tea in bed, sat beside me, and took my hand in his. "We need to talk," he said softly. This was it. The speech I'd seen in his email drafts to Kate. "I care about you, but this isn't working anymore." I braced myself, rehearsing my own lines. Would I scream? Cry? Throw his infidelity in his face? Tell him about the baby? His brother's baby? But Daniel surprised me. "I've been offered a promotion," he said. "Regional director, it's a big deal." I blinked, confused. "That's wonderful. There's a catch." He squeezed my hand. "We'd have to relocate to London for at least 3 years. London, an ocean away from Kate, an ocean away from James. The timing isn't great, I know," he continued. "After everything we've been through with trying for a baby. But maybe a fresh start is what we need." I stared at him, searching his face for signs of deception. Was this his way out? Take me to London, then leave me alone in a strange city while he flew back for business trips to see Kate. "When would we go?" I asked carefully. "That's the thing." He ran a hand through his hair. "They need an answer by Friday. We'd leave in 3 weeks if I accept." 3 weeks? My mind raced with the implications. I'd be taking his brother's baby to another continent. I'd be trapping myself in a marriage with a man who was in love with someone else. "What about Kate?" I asked, watching his face. "Kate?" For a split second, panic flashed in his eyes. "From HR," I clarified. "Won't she need to find your replacement?" The relief on his face was so obvious it made me sick. "Oh, yes, I suppose she will." That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to his breathing. When had he become a stranger to me? When had I become a stranger to myself? The woman who'd slept with her husband's brother. The woman who was considering running away to London with a secret growing inside her. I slipped out of bed and went downstairs. On the mantelpiece was our wedding photo. Daniel beaming proudly, me radiant in white. And there, slightly behind us, James. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Had it been there all along? That look of quiet longing? Had I simply been too blind to see it? I took the photo down and placed it face down in a drawer. I couldn't bear to look at any of us anymore. My phone lit up with another text. Not from James this time. It was Kate. "Can we meet tomorrow? Cafe on 9th noon. I think we need to talk." My heart stopped. Then started again, racing. She knew. Somehow, she knew I'd seen their messages. I typed back one word. Yes. The cafe was busier than I expected for a weekday lunch. Maybe that was deliberate on Kate's part. Witnesses, public setting, safety in numbers. I arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a corner table with a view of the door. I ordered herbal tea. Caffeine wasn't good for the baby. The baby. James's baby. My hand went to my stomach unconsciously, a gesture that was becoming habit. I saw her before she saw me. Kate from HR. Tall, confident, curvy in all the right places. Hair styled in that effortless way that actually takes hours. Designer clothes that somehow looked like she'd just thrown them on. For a moment, watching her scan the cafe, I saw what Daniel saw in her. Vitality. Energy. A woman untouched by grief and failure. She spotted me, and her professional smile faltered for just a second. Then she straightened her shoulders and walked over, sliding into the seat across from me. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, voice carefully modulated. HR voice. The voice that terminated employees and mediated workplace disputes. "Of course," I replied, equally controlled. "How can I help you, Kate?" A waiter appeared. She ordered an iced Americano without looking at the menu. When he left, the professional mask slipped. God, this is awful," she said, running a hand through her perfect hair. "I never wanted to have this conversation." "Which conversation is that?" I asked, feigning ignorance, making her say it. She leaned forward. "I think you know about Daniel and me." There it was. The confirmation I'd been waiting for, even though I'd already seen the evidence. Hearing her say it made it real in a way that text messages hadn't. "Yes," I said simply. She looked surprised at my calm. "He doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he knew. I'm sure he would." "We didn't plan this," she continued, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. It just happened. We fought it for months. How noble of you both, I said, my voice still eerily calm. She flinched. I deserve that. I wanted you to hear it from someone before he tells you. He's planning to talk to you tonight. Tonight. Before his deadline to accept the London position. It all made sense now. What exactly is he planning to tell me? I asked. She hesitated. That he wants a divorce. That we're in love, I finished for her. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Tears, as if she were the wronged party here. I am so sorry, she said. I know about your difficulties, the miscarriages. Daniel told me everything. Everything. My most private pain, my repeated failures to carry a child, cocktail conversation between lovers. I felt something crack inside me, but I didn't show it. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out a small notebook. I'd been preparing for this moment since 3:17 a.m. yesterday. I have some questions, I said calmly, opening the notebook. Practical matters. She looked confused. Questions? About the divorce, I clarified. You're right. It's better to be prepared. Her confusion deepened. This wasn't going how she'd expected. Where was the scene? The tears? The begging? Little did she know. I'd cried all my tears in private. This wasn't a spontaneous reaction. This was a strategy. First, I said, consulting my notes, did Daniel mention our prenuptial agreement? The infidelity clause specifically? Her face blanched. What infidelity clause? The one his parents insisted on. It stipulates that in case of proven infidelity, the cheating spouse forfeits their claim to all jointly owned property and businesses. I looked up, smiling slightly. Including his shares in his father's company, the shares that would make him eligible for that London position. This was a bluff, but she didn't know that. Neither did Daniel, who had signed our prenup while hungover the day before our wedding, trusting his father's lawyer completely. He never mentioned that, she stammered. No? Interesting. I made a note in my book. Second question. Are you aware that I've been documenting his absences, expenses, and communications for the past 6 weeks? Another bluff. I'd only discovered the affair yesterday, but she didn't need to know that. You've been spying on him? She asked, incredulous. Not spying. Protecting myself. I closed the notebook. Final question. Do you know about the baby? Her face fell. What baby? I placed my hand on my stomach. I'm pregnant, Kate. 6 weeks along. The color drained from her face. But, he said, you couldn't. Apparently we were wrong. I leaned forward. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away. Today. No goodbyes, no closure, no explanations. You're going to request a transfer to another department or another office entirely. And you're never going to contact my husband again. You can't be serious, she whispered. If you don't, I'll take everything Daniel has. Everything he's worked for. Everything his family has built. The scandal alone would destroy his career. I stood up, gathering my things. I'm sure what you have is very special, but is it worth that price? She sat frozen, coffee untouched. One more thing, I added, pausing beside her chair. I know about the hotel room you booked for tonight, the one where he was going to recover after breaking the news to me. Cancel it. As I walked out of the cafe, my phone buzzed. A text from James. I'm worried about you. Please talk to me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a plan forming. A clear path forward through this tangle of lies and betrayals. I texted back, can you meet me tomorrow? I need your help with something important. Then I called my doctor to schedule my first prenatal appointment. I had a pregnancy to confirm officially. Documentation I might need later. Because while Kate thought she'd seen my whole hand, I was still holding my strongest card. I met James at a park across town. Neutral territory, away from prying eyes. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench by the duck pond, shoulders hunched against the autumn chill. He jumped up when he saw me. Hey, he said, his eyes searching my face anxiously. What's going on? You've been avoiding me for weeks. I gestured for him to sit back down. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own thoughts. I need to tell you some things, I began slowly, and I need you to just listen first, before you say anything. He nodded, his expression growing more concerned. Daniel's having an affair, I said, with Kate from his office. It's been going on for months. He was planning to ask for a divorce last night. James's face darkened. That son of a… Wait, was planning to? What happened? I said, allowing myself a small smile. I confronted him about the London job offer, told him I knew about Kate, that I'd seen their messages. I didn't tell James about my meeting with Kate or my bluffs about the prenup. Some cards I was still keeping close to my chest. What did he do? James asked, his voice tight with anger. He denied it at first. Then admitted everything, cried, begged forgiveness. I looked out at the ducks gliding across the pond. Said he'd made a terrible mistake, that he still loves me, that he'll break things off with Kate if I agree to go to London with him and start fresh. And you believe him? James sounded incredulous. No, I said simply, but I told him I'd think about it. James ran a hand through his hair. So like Daniel's, yet different. Softer, kinder. Jesus, I'm so sorry. I never thought he'd do something like this. Not to you. I took a deep breath. This was the moment. The point of no return. There's more, I said quietly. I'm pregnant. His head snapped up, eyes wide. You're… what? How far along? 6 weeks. I watched as he did the mental calculation, his face shifting from shock to realization to fear. 6 weeks, he repeated. That would mean… Yes, I confirmed. That night. It's yours, James. He stood up abruptly, pacing in front of the bench. Are you sure? I mean, absolutely sure? Daniel and I haven't been intimate in months, I explained. Even before that night. He sat back down heavily, head in his hands. Oh my God. There's more, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Daniel thinks it's his miracle baby. He thinks that's why I haven't immediately thrown him out, because I'm finally pregnant with his child. James looked up at me, his expression unreadable. What are you going to do? This was the moment I had been rehearsing since yesterday, the pivot point of my entire plan. I'm going to London with Daniel, I said. What? James stood up again. You can't be serious. After what he did? And the baby? Is safer with this arrangement, I interrupted. Think about it, James. If I leave Daniel now, if I tell him the truth about the baby, what happens? Scandal, lawsuits. Your parents would be devastated. Your relationship with your brother destroyed forever. My relationship with my brother is already over, he said bitterly. He doesn't deserve you. Or this child. I stood up and took his hands in mine. Listen to me. Daniel's been offered a huge promotion. Access to family money, property, resources. This baby, your baby, deserves all of that. So what? You're just going to lie? Forever? Raise my child with him in another country? His voice cracked with emotion. No, I said firmly. I'm going to secure our future first. I explained my plan, the one I'd been refining since that text message at 3:17 a.m. 2 days ago. Go to London. Use the prenuptial agreement I'd actually studied carefully as leverage. Have Daniel put everything in both our names as a sign of his commitment to our fresh start. Wait until the baby is born. Establish British citizenship for the child. Then, when everything was legally secured, reveal the truth. You want revenge, James said, realization dawning on his face. I want security, I corrected. For me and for this baby. Your brother was willing to throw away 5 years of marriage, 3 lost pregnancies, our entire life together. He told her about my miscarriages, James. My private pain was pillow talk for them. James flinched. I'm not doing this out of spite, I continued. I'm doing this because it's the smartest move for everyone involved. Even Daniel, though he doesn't deserve my consideration. And what about me? James asked quietly. Do I just wait? Pretend nothing's happening while my child grows up an ocean away? I squeezed his hands. 6 months? That's all I'm asking. 6 months to put everything in place. Then you can decide what role you want in our lives. Our lives, he repeated, the words hanging between us. There was a moment, just a flash, where everything seemed possible, a different future, a family with James instead. But I pushed the thought away. This wasn't about romance or replacing one brother with another. This was about survival. "I need to know if you're with me," I said. "If you'll wait, and keep this secret until the time is right." He was silent for a long moment, conflict clear on his face. Finally, he nodded. "I'll wait. For the baby." His eyes met mine. "And for you." 3 weeks later, Daniel and I boarded a plane to London. He held my hand the entire flight, believing we were flying toward reconciliation and a fresh start. His relief was palpable. He'd gotten everything he wanted. A pregnant wife willing to forgive, a prestigious new job, a clean slate. What he didn't know was that while he slept beside me on that transatlantic flight, I was awake, mentally reviewing the documentation I'd secretly gathered. The text messages, the email exchanges, the hotel receipts, the prenuptial agreement with its ruthless infidelity clause, all safely stored in encrypted files, backed up in multiple locations. And in my carry-on bag, hidden inside a copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting, was a signed affidavit from Kate herself, detailing their affair. Insurance I'd obtained during a second private meeting she believed Daniel would never know about. As we began our descent into London, Daniel squeezed my hand. "I promise I'll make everything up to you," he whispered. "You and the baby." I smiled back at him, a genuine smile, because for the first time in years, I felt completely in control of my life. "I know you will," I said softly. 6 months later, I stood at the window of our London townhouse, watching snow fall softly on the street below. My hand rested on my very pregnant belly, feeling the strong kicks of the child inside me. James's child. The door opened behind me. Daniel, home early from work. "Hey," he said, coming to stand beside me. "Beautiful, isn't it?" It was. London in the snow had a magical quality I'd grown to appreciate, just as I'd grown to appreciate many things about my new life here. The anonymity of a foreign city, the independence I'd cultivated, the financial security I'd methodically built. Daniel had been a model husband these past months. Attentive, loving, excited about the baby. He'd given me everything I asked for: joint accounts, co-ownership of properties, my name on every legal document, signs of his commitment to our fresh start. Little did he know that each signature, each legal formality, was another piece in my carefully constructed safety net. "The nursery is finally finished," he said, his arm sliding around my waist. "Want to see?" I followed him down the hall to the room we'd spent weeks preparing. Pale green walls, wooden crib, stuffed animals arranged just so. A perfect nursery for a perfect baby. "It's lovely," I said, and meant it. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it, a slight frown crossing his face. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. "Just work," he said, but his eyes didn't meet mine. "Listen, I forgot some files at the office. I should probably go back and get them." "On a snowy Friday evening?" I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "Of course. Don't be too late." After he left, I went to my laptop and checked the tracking app I'd installed on his phone months ago. Not that I needed it anymore. I'd already gathered all the evidence I required. But old habits die hard. His little dot moved not toward his office, but toward a hotel in Mayfair. Apparently, the London branch had a Kate of its own. Some men never change. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. "Hey," James answered on the first ring. "How are you feeling?" "It's time," I said simply. There was a pause. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." I looked down at my belly. "The baby will be here in 2 weeks. All the paperwork is in place. Everything's ready. I booked my flight yesterday," he said. "I'll be there on Monday." A wave of emotion washed over me. Relief, anticipation, a touch of fear. "He's at a hotel with someone." Again. James sighed. "Are you surprised?" "No," I admitted. "Just disappointed. I thought maybe, for the baby's sake." "Some people don't change," James said gently. "It's not your fault." We talked for a while longer, finalizing details of his arrival, his temporary accommodations, the plan for what would happen next. After we hung up, I wandered back to the nursery, sitting in the rocking chair Daniel had assembled with such care. The irony wasn't lost on me. How hard he'd worked to create this perfect facade, while simultaneously undermining it with his actions. When he came home 3 hours later, snow in his hair and guilt in his eyes, I was waiting for him in the living room. On the coffee table between us lay a folder. "What's this?" he asked, unwinding his scarf. "Divorce papers," I said calmly, "and copies of the evidence I've gathered over the past 7 months documenting your continued infidelity." The color drained from his face. "What are you talking about?" "Please," I said, suddenly tired of the pretense. "Don't insult me with more lies. I know about the woman from your London office, just like I knew about Kate back home." He stared at me, shock giving way to anger. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been protecting myself," I corrected. "And our child." His face softened at the mention of the baby. "Look, I've made mistakes, terrible ones. But we can work through this, for the baby." I shook my head. "James arrives on Monday." The mention of his brother's name confused him. "James? Why would James?" And then I told him everything. About that night 6 weeks before I discovered his affair with Kate. About the paternity of the child I was carrying. About the coordinated plan his brother and I had formed. I watched understanding dawn on his face, followed by betrayal, then rage, then defeat. "You've been lying to me this whole time," he whispered. "We both have," I said simply. "The difference is, I did it to survive. You did it because you could." 2 weeks later, as James held my hand in the delivery room while I brought his daughter into the world, I finally felt the weight of deception lift from my shoulders. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're given. Sometimes the hardest path leads to the most honest destination. And sometimes the biggest secret you keep isn't for revenge.